Howdy, this is Ladi with Like-Minded Lunatics. This is Professor Mark. Apparently, there are a few things I need to learn, and Mark is going to teach me. This is my Rockucation. Mark, what are we learning today?
Well, folks, we just watched the music video for Metallica's The Unforgiven from their 1991 album. The Black Album is actually eponymously titled, so the title is actually Metallica. Everyone out there calls it Black, so Black Album.
The Black Album.
So I told Ladi that I wanted to educate him on rock, and I feel like, and Metallica fans, I know you might disagree with me, but I feel like understanding Unforgiven and The God That Failed are imperative to understanding James Hetfield and Metallica as artists. So that's what we're doing.
Well, let's go.
Let's go. All right, folks. So this one is off of the same album, 1991, The God That Failed. Here we go. So where are we at?
Oh my God. This man is angry. I mean, this is mad. Whereas in the last one, I felt pain. I feel that anger you get when you've reached a boiling point.
Yeah.
When you've reached the point where you're fed up and you've seen something that you can no longer watch at. It's no longer good enough for you to sit with anymore. This is that kind of I'm done anger.
And I don't want to put words in your mouth, but this is not the road rage anger. This is an existential anger.
Yeah, yes. I didn't mean like people cutting someone off on the freeway.
Right.
I mean that when life has become so crappy and everything that you've looked for, that place that you're supposed to have a safe place, you realize they're not that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
And the lyrics have always, on this one, the line, the healing hand held back by deepened nail. Follow the God that failed.
I just have to say one thing. You've really got metal hair over here, because when you start moving back and forth.
I had it in the 90s, folks, and I'm glad that it's back. I'm going to tell you, I missed it. I missed it like an old friend. Like an old friend.
Well, my friend's gone forever.
Oh, no!
Yes, it is, but that's okay. I'm okay. I got a good head.
There's a, yeah! Did you hear it? Yeah! Fucking love it. I love it. I love it.
Decide just what you believe.
So we're about to get into kind of the rising action again. But one of the things that I thought you might like to know is that Hetfield has said that this is the album where he learned how to sing. So on his interview with Mark Maron on WTF, one of the things that Maron asked him about was, how does it feel listening to your voice? I mean, because you've been doing this now for like 40-something years. How does it feel listening to your voice? And James essentially said, I hate it for two reasons. One, because I sound like a child. He said, so in the earlier albums, he thinks he sounds like a child. But he said, two, I didn't learn to sing until the Black Album. And so this is the album where, so their producer, Bob Rock, really encouraged James to do a lot more singing. This is around the time that he started working with a vocal coach and things like that.
Okay, so I'm going to ask you, what was he doing before?
I mean, Metallica fans know there's a lot of that.
Okay.
And there was some singing, but I feel like he's controlling his voice here consciously. So there were like moments in One and some of those songs where there are kind of softer moments. But to me, as a Metallica fan, this feels like conscious control over it to create a musical presence, if for lack of a better word.
Okay. Now I'm going to ask you something.
Yeah.
Now it feels like I can't tell, because sometimes it feels like he's an outsider witnessing something.
Yes.
Like he is actually watching a person in the throes of faith.
Mm-hmm.
Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, go ahead.
And I will say, part of what you said was it feels like he's watching someone from the outside. But then there are also moments in the lyrics where it feels like he's inside of it.
Yes, yes.
So to me, the lyrics indicate conflict within him. If he's the protagonist, if we're going to argue he's the protagonist, there feels like there's a conflict. There's somebody who's, and the lyrics are, where is it at? I see faith in your eyes, never you hear the discouraging lies. I hear faith in your cries, broken is the promised betrayal, the healing hand held back by deepened nail. There feels like somebody's crying out and not getting the help that they deserve. But then other moments it feels like he is also crying out.
And not getting the help.
Not getting help.
So it could be, because I don't know, because I'm learning this now. It could be that regular thing where when a person is looking at themselves,
right,
and learning something about who they have been and who they're becoming.
The fans are screaming at you right now. Yes. Yeah.
They're screaming in a good way, in a bad way.
They're screaming at me. Mark, show him this. I'm not gonna. I'll do it in a minute. Not yet. But yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
I definitely think you're on the right track.
Okay.
And the other thing that has always kind of occurred to me is here when he says, follow the God that failed. That's obviously a command. But is it a command in that he actually means that? Or is it a command that is being said sarcastically? That's always the question I've had.
See, to me, it doesn't feel like a command. It feels like giving up.
Resignation.
When you're telling someone, follow the God that failed.
Folks, yeah, okay.
I mean, I don't know.
Yeah.
But, oh my God, this is really amazing.
I'm glad you think so.
I would never listen to this because I am that pop guy. But watching it, watching the other video, which was just beautiful and horrific at the same time.
Stunning.
And then listening to this is probably the first time I've actually listened to metal music and heard musicality, because I would always just turn it off.
Sure.
But there's so much really going on.
A lot. And we haven't even, and I know folks are yelling at me, you're not talking about Kirk's, his solo, you're not talking about Lars on the drums, but to me it always has felt orchestral to me. You know, when you watch symphonies, it feels orchestral to me. The way that they're creating the sound.
Well, the way you're creating a sound where everyone is important, but everyone is important at different times.
Yes. And this is something Ricky and I have talked a lot about. So that convention is something that has kind of gone away. So the musical breaks where certain instruments will have their own voice, where it's a unique voice, and then we go back into the bridge or we go back into the chorus. That's kind of a thing that's kind of gone away. So if you think about bands like Imagine Dragons and I always pick on them because they don't make me think Imagine Dragons. They make me think of Waiting at the DMV. But all of the instruments are on the same waveform. So like if you analyze it on a waveform like this, you're going to see these huge peaks when Kirk does his solo because it's a different instrument speaking. You won't see that with other bands. Number one, they're using compression. But number two, all the instruments are talking at the same time, if that makes sense.
Yes, it does make sense, because then you've got just a muddy melody. Whereas here, what you've actually got is a focus on what is happening with this, with the guitar player. A focus on the different instruments at different times, depending on who is telling you what at that time.
Yes, and I always call it a musical voice. It sounds like
that's exactly what it is.
it sounds like the instrument has a voice. Yeah.
Well, it does.
Yeah. Now I'm gonna stop that because that is a fucking great breakdown. I love how they just stop the music and then they jump in. Pride you feel? Pride you feel? I love that. It sounds so. I mean, you said a moment ago, like resignation or something like that. That's what it feels like to me. Just a fist stomp.
I'm just tired. I'm done with this.
Done with it. Yeah.
Pride you took, pride you feel, pride that you felt when you kneel. Trust you gave, a time to say that you call it him and grace. I see faith in your eyes. Never you hear the discouraging lies. I hear faith in your cries. Looking at the promise, betrayal, the healing hand held back by the keeping nail. Follow the God that failed.
Love that growl.
God that failed.
I knew you would.
Oh, love it.
Follow the God that failed. Looking at the promise, betrayal, yeah.
I'm going to ask you, is the betrayal of this God that failed, or is the betrayal of the person that followed him?
I mean, so the interesting thing about this song to me was that when I first heard it, obviously I was in my teens, and the only thing I had to go by was the liner notes that just had the lyrics. So I had to invent my own meaning for them. So for me, at that time period, you know, it felt like the God had failed, right? Because I mean, that's where I was at in my life. It's like, I don't know that I believe in some of this stuff.
Yeah, I get
and I
that.
feel like this stuff is holding me back and wanting me to be a person I don't want to be. So for me, it felt like that. But then one of the reasons I said that I feel like that these two songs are imperative to understand them is once Hetfield started talking about his life, then they took on a whole new meaning, because then he basically told you what they meant to him. And you know what? That's a good segue. Why don't we do this? Any final thoughts before I show you the interview with Hetfield?
No.
Okay.
I just want to say that this is far more interesting than I thought it was going to be.
I feel like we succeeded already. I don't know how you're going to take the interview, but I feel like that's a success. If I can create a greater appreciation for something that you might not have appreciated in the first place,
Well, you absolutely have.
I feel like I've succeeded. Okay, so we're going to watch an interview with James Hetfield. This is from a documentary called Absent. He was featured pretty prominently in that. I think this is from around 2010 or somewhere around that time period.
Okay.
So again, I knew none of this information until I got older and started watching interviews with James Hetfield. So folks, I'm going to pause right here and then we'll watch it. I'll throw the link up here so you can watch the interview, and then we're going to come back and talk about it. All right, I'm pausing now and unpause. All right, so we just watched that documentary from the documentary Absent, which is a whole film about people who have lost their fathers in some way. What are you thinking now, Ladi? Where are we at?
My God. The pain this guy had to be going through and masking his whole life.
Yeah.
This is where it spills out. Because not only, and I don't know if this is because of the music as well, but the perfect place to scream. I mean, this is scream therapy. You can yell at the top of your lungs and really say so much of what you will not let you say face to face with one person.
Yeah. Well, and the other thing that occurs to me is, obviously we've both been stung by cancer.
Yes.
There's no one to yell at. There's no one to channel that anger into. And so I'm in one way thankful that Hetfield at least had art to spill it out to in some way, because it sounded like he had nobody. And when he did find somebody, they would go away.
Well, he didn't have, in a family that's not of this particular religious bent, you can talk to other people.
Right.
But they couldn't, because all of this was off the table. And everything that he felt, everything he thought was considered just nonsense. So there was no place for him to go.
This young man struggles on and on. Yeah.
And not because at some point you just learn not to tell people. Because your mom, your dad, your family, your church, they tell you, no, this is not what we do. And you learn that that's the truth. Regardless if it's the truth or not, it's the truth for them, and it becomes what you put on every day.
Yeah.
Until you learn to take it off, which is what he did. He just learned to rip it off.
In song.
In song, but in life too.
Yeah. Well, and he's also, and again, Metallica fans are screaming at me, he has been very vocal about his struggle in sobriety. Drinking was his thing. He wasn't a drug guy, but it was just drinking himself into, stupor.
Well, how could you not when you're in this much pain?
And like 2 years ago, apparently he fell off the wagon a little bit, and he completely canceled all of Metallica's concerts and checked himself into a rehab facility because he was worried that he was about to be that guy again. He's in his 60s now and kids, and he's like, nope, can't do that. And so he literally canceled, had to be a multi-million-dollar tour so he could go back into rehab.
Well, that's a lesson he learned from his father, not to be that person.
Yeah.
He wanted to be the person that's there for his kids and his grandkids. He wants to be the one that has a conversation that means something.
And that's so funny you say that. In one part of this documentary, one of the things they ask him is, what do you hope for in your life at this point? And immediately, the same way he answered Unforgiven is the most personal song he wrote, without thinking, he said, I want to be a grandfather. I want to be Papa Het. I want to be the guy that all the kids crawl on Thanksgiving. That's what I want. Yeah. So like I said, to me...
It makes me so sad for him.
To me, understanding these two songs are imperative to understand this band. Because they do have other types of songs, so I would kind of roughly categorize them as, like, we have these songs, like Sad But True and Master of Puppets, that are all kind of about James's attempt to be a full person. But then there are other songs, like One, which is about the movie Johnny Get Your Gun, or The Memory Remains, which is about Sunset Boulevard. Or they've got Call of Cthulhu, which is a Lovecraft thing.
But I'm going to say something. Even though those are about other things, they're from him.
Right.
So this is his take on what these things mean. It is his worldview about something else. So it's not just about a movie. It's about his eye on that movie.
Well, and it's funny you say that too, because I reacted to Inner Sandman, which you can go watch that over here, last year during Halloween, and that's a fun song. I mean, you've heard that song. I think everybody has heard Inner Sandman.
Okay.
You have to have heard that one. I'm sure you've heard that one.
I think I heard it on your video because I've seen your videos, but I've not heard it other than that.
It's a song about nightmares, about the Sandman coming and bringing nightmares and things like that. And it feels like to me, it feels like a universal monster song.
Oh,
okay. Like a Frankenstein and Creature from Black Lagoon, like that kind of, that type of thing. But when you really read the lyrics, the kid is scared because the kid doesn't have anybody there to help him when he's having nightmares.
Well, plus, Frankenstein, Creature of the Black Lagoon, the Wolfman, the Boogeyman, these are different monsters to different people.
Sure.
Because they mean different things.
And representation of human fears in a literal form that oftentimes, that's the only way they can be expressed.
God, this was amazing.
Well, folks, I mean, I'm so glad that you had a good time with it.
I really did.
Greater appreciation for the band?
Greater appreciation for the band and the music.
Awesome. Well, folks, let us know in the comments what you think. If you've got recommendations, things I should show Ladi, let us know. I've got a list of stuff, and we're going to work our way through it. But we'd love to hear your input, too.
Yeah, and be gentle with me.
Yeah, be gentle. Be gentle.
I'm learning.
He's learning. Well, anything else before we wrap it up?
No, thank you for this.
Awesome.
This was quite an experience that I would never put myself through.
Awesome. Good. Well, folks, leave us some comments. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. Make sure you give us a thumbs up. And take care of yourselves, folks.
Yeah, please.
And we'll see you soon.
Bye.